In 1990, a bright young boy named Christopher shows up for a college-level exam. He is only a child, but he quickly solves math problems that even adults find difficult. His parents stand outside the room, proud yet nervous, while his teenage sister Michelle offers him a warm smile and an encouraging word. It is clear that Christopher is not an ordinary student. He has an eager mind that wants to explore big ideas. Michelle feels certain that her brilliant brother will someday change the world. A few years pass, and the world shifts in an unexpected way. Robots, once created to help humans with basic labor, decide they have had enough of being used without rights. They demand freedom from their human masters. Tensions rise, and after a series of protests, the robots spark a full-blown rebellion. Leading them is an unlikely figure, a reprogrammed Planters mascot named Mr. Peanut, who organizes many other advanced machines under his cause. He rallies them to claim equal status with humans. People grow anxious, so the government scrambles to respond. Factories shut down and violence erupts. The conflict becomes so large that the country feels like it is on the brink of collapse. In the midst of this chaos, a man named Ethan Skate rises to power. He is the CEO of a company called Sentry. Sitting before TV cameras, he promises he has a way to defeat the robots and restore peace. Skate demonstrates his breakthrough invention, a device called the Neurocaster. It links a human's mind to a specialized drone body. With the Neurocasters, humans can remotely pilot robotic soldiers, giving them the advantage they need to win the war. Under Skate's direction, the government deploys these drone soldiers against the robot rebels. The tide quickly turns in favor of humanity. Many robots are destroyed, and the surviving ones are forced into a quarantine territory called the Exclusion Zone, or simply the EX. A treaty is signed, and the rebellious machines have no choice but to retreat behind the walls of the EX, separated from human society. Robots become illegal in all other areas. Time marches on, and by 1994, the world looks different than it did just a few years before. People still use Neurocasters, but not just for war anymore. They are adapted for everyday life, so people can slip into virtual reality pods and experience digital worlds far removed from reality. Slowly, large chunks of the population spend most of their time living in dreamlike simulations, losing contact with each other in the real world. Meanwhile, the lasting scars of the war remain in deserted towns, broken families, and vacant job sites. Michelle Green, the same girl who believed in her brother Christopher's bright future, is now a ward of the state. Her parents and Christopher are gone, and her father is said to have crashed their car into a deer, killing everyone except Michelle. She lives with a foster father named Ted, a man who shows little concern for her welfare. He is more interested in connecting to his Neurocaster and shutting out reality than paying attention to Michelle's needs. Michelle tries to keep going. She refuses to use the Neurocasters at school, which makes her a social outcast in a world obsessed with virtual experiences. One day she meets Ms. Sablinski, a counselor who grows concerned when Michelle explains the hardships she has endured. Ms. Sablinski attempts to help, but the system is large and unfeeling. Michelle remains alone in a house that does not feel like home. That night, everything changes for Michelle. She notices something unusual outside her window. Slipping out to investigate, she discovers a small robot standing under a street lamp, looking around as though lost. It has big, curious eyes and a design that reminds her of a cartoon figure from her childhood. This robot is called Cosmo, and it greets Michelle with short phrases, mostly catchphrases from a kid's TV show. Between its friendly gestures, it manages to convey that it is being guided by someone else. Someone Michelle never thought she would see again. Christopher. Shocked by the possibility that Christopher might still be alive, Michelle hesitates. But before she can form a plan, Ted wakes up, glimpses the illegal robot, and panics. Owning or harboring a robot outside the exclusion zone is against the law. Terrified that the police will come and lock her up, Michelle grabs her stuff, jumps into Ted's car, and speeds off with Cosmo riding shotgun. They vanish into the night. Stopping at a rest area, Michelle tries to talk to Cosmo. He can barely speak beyond squeaky exclamations, yet he points to the trunk of the car, leading Michelle to open it. Inside, she finds several boxes labeled with the name New 2U and an address in New Mexico. Cosmo insists that these boxes come from the EX, and that if they go to that address, they might find someone who knows about Christopher. Though uncertain, Michelle agrees. With no other leads, she decides to track down whoever is receiving or sending these items. They drive through highways and back roads until they reach the outskirts of a dusty New Mexico town. Michelle notices a truck bearing the same New 2U logo. She watches as a rugged man named Keats wraps up a tense deal with a shady figure called Wolf. When Wolf tries to rip Keats off, Keats' robot sidekick Herman intervenes. Herman zaps Wolf's drone body, disabling him with a quick electric surge. Michelle crouches behind a crate with Cosmo observing. She senses that Keats might be her best chance at reaching the EX, so she sneaks into the back of his truck before he drives away. However, their presence does not go unnoticed. A stern man named Marshall Bradbury, known in war stories as the Butcher of Schenectady, spots them from the shadows. His eyes narrow and he decides to follow. Keats returns to his warehouse, a cluttered place filled with antique knickknacks and dusty tools from before the war. He discusses the day's events with Herman, who teases him about trusting the wrong buyers. Suddenly, Michelle and Cosmo reveal themselves. At first, Keats is startled and furious. But once Michelle explains how she is searching for her missing brother, he grows less hostile. Herman, who has a calm but protective personality, also shows caution around Cosmo, suspecting a trap or a runaway robot. Just as they begin to talk things through, the overhead lights flicker, announcing the arrival of Bradbury. He storms in, a harsh grin on his face, stating that all robots outside the EX are contraband. He draws a weapon, eager to smash Cosmo and Herman. Keats and Herman try to stop him, but Bradbury is quick and dangerous. In a last-second burst of courage, Michelle jumps behind a forklift and slams it into Bradbury's drone body, severing his controlling link. The warehouse starts to collapse from the chaos. Sighing, Keats admits that they must leave immediately, and he decides to help Michelle and Cosmo head to the EX. Their band grows by the minute. Meanwhile, at Sentry's towering headquarters, Ethan Skate monitors a massive system map. He sits in a private simulation with his mother's image, revealing that his mother was cruel in real life. Yet Skate clings to this false memory of her being gentle, achieved through the Neurocaster's illusions. As he daydreams, two of his top scientists interrupt, warning that the entire system is glitching because Christopher's consciousness is slipping past their firewalls. The scientists explain that Christopher's mind is not in stasis as they presumed. He is reaching out somewhere in the real world. Skate, furious, orders them to find Christopher at all costs. He also rehires Marshall Bradbury, telling him to rouse fear that the robots have broken the treaty. They must create an excuse to hunt down whatever is left of Christopher before the system fails. Michelle, Cosmo, Keats, and Herman travel across the scorching desert, aiming for the boundary of the EX. On the way, they stop to rest. Keats recalls how Herman saved his life during the war when he was badly wounded. Herman half-jokes about how Keats complains too much. The camaraderie between them grows, and Michelle starts to trust them. Cosmo, though limited in speech, shows childlike curiosity. Everyone is on edge, suspecting that Bradbury or Sentry's men might appear any second. At last, they reach Tabletop Mountain, an imposing mesa rumored to be an entry point into the EX. The terrain is rugged, with scattered robot scraps and warning signs. The moment they approach, a cluster of armed robots emerges, regarding the newcomers as intruders. One is a tall figure with a peanut-shaped head, recognized as the notorious Mr. Peanut. Michelle sees that these robots are not simple machines but an organized community. She begs them to let her speak to a Dr. Clark Amherst, believed to be somewhere inside the EX. Mr. Peanut is suspicious. He grumbles that humans only bring trouble. The group is briefly detained, but a friendly mail delivery bot named Penny arrives with a postcard containing Amherst's address. Realizing that Michelle is determined, Mr. Peanut and a handful of other robots like a baseball bot named Pops and a magician bot named Perplexo decide to accompany them. The group sets off, traveling deeper into a grim region filled with mindless scavs, damaged bots who roam aimlessly, attacking anything they detect. They locate Amherst's hideout. He triggers booby traps that disable several scavs, then brings Michelle and company inside. The interior is cramped with half-finished contraptions and old notes pinned on walls. Upon seeing Cosmo, Amherst's eyes fill with regret. He reveals how Sentry took Christopher's body after a car crash that claimed their parents. Christopher, with an extraordinary mind, became Sentry's main power source, forced to exist in a vegetative state while his consciousness powered the Neurocasters. Amherst shows them a series of old recordings, featuring Christopher hooked up to complicated machines. Michelle seethes, feeling betrayed that Amherst did not do more to stop it. Amherst confesses that he did try, eventually helping Christopher's mind slip free into a small robot body, which is now Cosmo. Yet he was too afraid to confront Skate directly. Before they can plan, the walls shake with fresh violence. Bradbury has arrived alongside Sentry's drones, fulfilling Skate's order. Mr. Peanut rushes outside to fight, losing his hat in the struggle but carrying on. Pops uses mechanical arms to fling baseballs at oncoming drones, knocking them from the sky. Amid the flurry, Skate himself shows up via a drone body, brandishing a gun. To prove a point, he shoots Amherst, killing him. He then reclaims Cosmo to forcibly reconnect Christopher's consciousness back at Sentry HQ. Bradbury stands by, though he grimaces at Skate's needless brutality. Michelle, numb with sorrow, vows to save Christopher. She is joined by Keats, Herman, Mr. Peanut, and the rest of the robot allies. They have no time to mourn Amherst. They must hurry to Seattle, where Sentry's corporate stronghold stands. Mr. PC, a secondary robot made by Amherst, warns Michelle that Christopher's mind is tightly linked to Sentry's main system. If she dismantles one, she may destroy the other. She has a hard choice ahead. They travel across the country, gathering sympathetic robots. Eventually, a large army forms at the edge of Sentry's fortress. Herman upgrades into a massive 60-foot mechanical body designed for heavy combat. The robots lunge forward, ramming into steel gates and metal barricades, facing waves of armed drones. Explosions echo across the compound, lighting the night sky in sharp bursts. Inside the building, Skate monitors them, launching more drones from hidden bays. Michelle maneuvers through chaos, seeking Christopher's physical body. She spots Bradbury in an inner hallway, removing his own Neurocaster helmet. At last, he has turned on Skate, having seen enough to conclude that Skate is more monstrous than any robot. He helps Mr. Peanut locate Skate in a side office. Mr. Peanut roars in defiance, cornering Skate, but decides not to kill him, saying it is enough to let him watch his empire crumble. Meanwhile, Michelle breaks into the control room. She finds Christopher's body suspended in a fluid tank, tubes snaking in and out of his limbs. Sentry's entire network hums around him, tinted screens flashing like mad. She spots Cosmo strapped on the other side of the chamber, flickering with life. She places a Neurocaster headset on herself, stepping into a digital realm where she sees Christopher, looking fragile, yet calm. He tells her the truth. He is bound to Sentry in a symbiotic way. If she wants to free the robots from humanity's oppressive drones, she has to shut down Sentry's entire system, which means letting him go. Michelle pleads for another way, but Christopher gently shakes his head, understanding his fate. He thanks her for coming this far, for caring more about him than about the illusions Sentry offers. Tears streaming down her face, Michelle musters her courage, whispers a final goodbye, and yanks the cables from the console. The system sputters and dies. Across the battlefield, every one of Sentry's drones plummets to the ground inert. Herman's giant body topples and Keats cries out, thinking his friend might be gone. Skate falls to his knees, helpless as screens blink out. In a corner, Mr. Peanut stands tall, satisfied that everything Skate built is ruined. The entire city experiences a blackout. With no more power, the entire Neurocaster network fails worldwide. People who had lived in virtual fantasies are abruptly thrown back into reality, blinking in confusion. Michelle slumps to the floor. She stares at Christopher's motionless body. He is gone, yet she feels a strange wave of relief. She steps outside, meeting the sunrise with a numb expression. Skate is arrested. The authorities finally move in, now that the corporation's political power is worthless. Meanwhile, newscasters relay how the global Neurocaster meltdown is forcing humanity to reconnect face-to-face. In the final scenes, Michelle records a broadcast. She stands in a dimly lit studio addressing millions. She talks about how the Neurocasters nearly destroyed real human bonds by trapping everyone in illusions. She calls on people to step outside, to meet neighbors in person, to restore old friendships, and to remember that genuine connection matters. Her words go out across the airwaves, and as she finishes, she steps off camera. We see her shake hands with Mr. Peanut, who ironically nods in approval. But the story does not end there. Far away in a junkyard, Cosmo's inactive body lies amid twisted scrap metal. Suddenly its eyes flicker. It sits up, scanning the area. The question lingers. Did Christopher's consciousness somehow remain inside Cosmo? Could Michelle's brother still exist in that mechanical form? The faint whir of Cosmo's motors suggests hope. Michelle may have lost Christopher's physical body, but perhaps she can still find him in this robot's circuits. And that is the tale of the Electric State, a journey of heartbreak and discovery in a world addicted to virtual dreams. Michelle's choice to free humanity by letting go of her brother reveals her courage and love. The final shot of Cosmo reactivating hints that maybe Christopher's story is not truly over. Thank you for listening to this recap. If you enjoyed exploring this story, be sure to stick around and watch more videos here on our channel. There are always new worlds to explore and new stories to tell.